welcome to Day One Patch Podcast, episode 290. We're going to start the show off real quick with a fun fact.
With a goddamn fun fact.
When she died, speed reading pioneer Evelyn Wood was working on a way to watch television more quickly. There you go. There's your fun fact for the week.
And?
Tell your friends.
Did she figure it out, or?
Netflix tried to do something like that, I think.
Wait, what?
What?
Watch TV. Is it supposed to be like the podcast thing where you listen to it at 1.5 or whatever?
Yeah, I think it got shut down real quick.
Because it would look horrible.
Do you guys actually utilize that feature at all? The speed?
I do with YouTube videos.
Or books? No.
Wait, YouTube videos? Wait a sec. So you could do it on TV then. Who said YouTube videos?
I did.
Oh, I thought it was Adriano. That was weird.
Like YouTube videos are, if I need a tutorial video, like if I need to figure out something on Photoshop and I find this tutorial video, that might be the only time that I ever utilize that speed up feature. Because most of the time people are talking super slow and lethargically. So I'm like, all right, let's dial this up and get through this. I think that's the only time I ever utilize that.
Why do you use it, Tim?
If there's like in my feed, I've got a particular like bunch of videos. I'm like, all right, you know what? I want to watch most of these. Then I'll usually use the custom like playback speed feature where I can do it at like 15% increase kind of thing.
Holy crap!
Get through it a little faster.
I was wondering whether, I mean, Adriano's case is just tutorials, but I was wondering if it was going to be people that specifically watch everything from a certain creator, and there's just too many creators in your I watch all of this stuff pool, and so you would have to sort of rip through it. That's kind of what happens to podcasts, where people are either trying to learn faster or they want to listen to every episode of like 6 creators and they just can't.
That's mostly what I'm referring to. Yeah, it's like if I've got a whole lot of stuff that I want to watch, then I'll speed it up. Not to the point where it's like
Not
uncomfortable.
enjoyable.
Yeah, exactly. But just fast enough that it's like I'm still understanding it and enjoying it the same amount. I can just get through faster. Like when I was watching D&D shows on Twitch and stuff, when there's just like literal hundreds of hours of content to get through, then yeah, I'm watching that at like 1.3.
I get it for like stuff like that, but if you're watching a movie for the first time and you're using a speed up feature on Netflix,
yeah, I'm not doing that.
That's pretty rough.
Yeah. It was TBS and that really started it with Seinfeld. They're the ones that kind of like kicked this whole thing off. They were speeding it up by like 1.15 rate, maybe like a 1.25 rate, and then they were sneaking in extra commercials in a 30-minute block.
Mm-hmm. I remember that.
Wait, this was live? This is on television? Like
it was well, not live. It was they took syndicated episodes of Seinfeld and did that. They sped them up by.
It wasn't that much though. I think it was like by 7% or something.
Yeah, it was.
So it wasn't quite enough that you would notice it.
Yeah, just little enough so most people didn't notice. And then like somebody discovered it and then did like a comparison video on YouTube where they recorded a TBS version versus another one, and then they realized that TBS was actually speeding it up.
Mm-hmm.
All right, well, that's Matt Lawrence, that's Tim Spence, and that's Adriano Petty.
Aye.
In that order.
Some of the top stories this week. We have a bit of a event schedule rundown for kind of the E3 replacements from some of the big publishers and whatnot. Last of Us 2 had a state of play. I don't know if anyone else watched that, but
I did not.
I'll talk about it a bit.
I did not.
Xbox Series, the Nier Automata and Bayonetta developer is clarifying some of his statements on next gen. PlayStation boss is not interested in making PS4 versions of PS5 games. We got some updates on Cliff Basinski, and a new Xbox
Cliffy B.
app lets parents monitor and limit time for children. So that was more of a kind of a query corner question, I think, too, and we'll get to that when we get to it. Starting off though, what's new, guys?
Go ahead, Matt.
Oh, all right. Well, I just beat last night, finally beat the new Wastelanders content on 76, and I sided with the Raiders because that's the only way you should be in the Wasteland, unless the Brotherhood is present, in which they are not currently.
No, Matt, you're wrong. You're wrong.
No,
you're
Raiders
wrong.
are.
I know
Raiders
nothing about
are the
this
right
franchise, but it's you, so you're wrong.
No, Raiders are the right way to treat the Wasteland, and so unless you're powerful like the Brotherhood of Steel, in which I will
Raiders.
and until the Brotherhood show up, I am loyal to the Raiders. But the raiders also have, I mean, slight unlocking spoilers. The raiders also have an ammo maker that you can get just for your camp that doesn't even require electricity. And so I'm working on that. It's a bit of a grind, but I'm pretty close to it now. I'm one level away. Although calculating it out was probably a bad idea because you have to do dailies to get the reputation. And I think it's something like I have to do 40 dailies, so I would have to log in 40 times-ish to finish it. I don't know whether there'll be other ways to do it or whether I miscalculated it, but it seems like quite a trek. But I mean, it's a live game, so what do you expect? But anyway, yeah, the ending was really cool. The story was really good, actually, which is surprising. I think that's probably where most of their time went because a lot of the assets are clearly reused. There's like some vault stuff and some buildings from the original 76 pre-Wastelanders that were used and that type of thing. So they definitely utilized a bunch of the or they recycled assets, I guess, to keep within their time restraints. And but a lot of time was clearly put into the story. I don't know about you, Ryan, but I really rather enjoyed the story in this one. It would have been nice to probably have started the game with this content, though.
Yeah,
like
sure.
The Wayward felt like a very wasted part of my time, even though it was cool, which kind of sucks. The Wayward's kind of like the new intro to the game. You can still do it.
I like that. I thought that was pretty fun.
I thought it was cool, but I think it would have been really cool if we had emerged from the vault and then went down there and been like, "Whoa, there's a town down here," kind of thing.
Right.
I just think that little bit of that coolness factor was lost. But yeah, so I can't wait for the new Brotherhood DLC that's eventually coming, which is going to be awesome. And I will immediately turn on my Raider brethren and join the Brotherhood.
Although they have said that they're kind of done with single player content for now, right? Isn't that correct?
Single player content? What do you mean?
So like Wastelanders was a big, well, not necessarily single player, but a big story based content dump. Right?
Right.
I think they said that they're done with that for a while. So I'm not sure if Brotherhood is going to be what they work on and releases like in a year or so.
Oh, they've already got the announcement for that. So the first season is the Captain Cosmos, I believe it's called. Mm-hmm. That's the first season. So that's probably what they mean. So seasons are sort of multiplayer-ish things where you can do events and stuff like that. We don't know the full details with your friends. Or at least it's a bit more social in which like I could probably help you gain some levels in your season, for example, and you could probably help me. That's probably what they mean. Because the intro to the Brotherhood is coming the season after Captain Cosmos. So it's summer and then fall. So fall will be some sort of introductory thing to the Brotherhood. Like we don't know the story exactly, but there's something there where I guess you're going to thematically be like, ooh, the Brotherhood's coming or whatever. And then the Brotherhood actual storyline gets released in the winter. Whether that means winter of 2020 or 2021 remains to be seen, or at least I haven't heard anything that specific. But that's when the actual Brotherhood comes out, along with like I think perk loadouts and some other things too. So I still have lots to do in Wastelanders. I'm still collecting gold and stuff like that. People who say that gold is super grindy, I don't really think it is. I was just finishing my game yesterday, and I beat the game, and then the Fashion Night event is on, so it happens once every hour, and it was like a few minutes before the Fashion Night event, so I was in a private server, I backed out, went to a public server, and joined the event before I logged out, and I had done my dailies that day too, actually. I think it was right after I did the Fashion Night, and I gained something like 200-ish gold bars, and so I don't think it's all that grindy.
They might think it's grindy just because of how much expensive the things at Vault 79 are.
I suppose that's true. Yeah, I don't
those
know.
Get pretty pricey.
Yeah, there's a couple of stores. I won't get into the spoilers too much, but there's a couple of stores in the game in which it's definitely pricey. Although like the ammo thing that I was talking about, the ammo maker is only $750, I think, and I almost have that much already, so it's not that big of a deal. But yeah, I really enjoyed it. Now that's kind of a check mark off the list, and now I'm trying to get through Far Cry Classic Edition. So that's my next target for Platinum.
Far Cry 3, right?
Far Cry 3, sorry. Far Cry 3,
yeah, I was
yes.
going to say, Far Cry Classic, like that has trophy support or achievement support?
No, yeah, it's Far Cry 3 Classic Edition. or classic or whatever they call it.
Tim, what's new with you?
Not too much. Just still doing the old WoW grind. I'm kind of trying to find things to do now because, like, I think I've gotten my fill of the nostalgia factor stuff. Now I'm kind of going back to old expansions and like working on reps that I never did to get like mounts and stuff because I really like collecting the mounts and doing the old raids to get transmog appearance stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
On the stream though, I'm pretty much done Wind Waker. I've done almost everything except for going into Hyrule and Ganon's Castle and finishing that off. I just need...
That's pretty quick, eh?
Yeah, it's not a terribly long game, and I mean I've played about 12 hours of it, so it's not terrible. I'm not doing like absolutely everything in that game because there's like the whole gallery in it where you can like take pictures of NPCs and take them to the gallery, and a guy makes statues of them with like little descriptions and stuff. But it takes like an in-game day for him to make each one, and you can only have 12 pictures in your picto box at max at any given time. So it's like, go to an island, take pictures of all the NPCs, go back, give them one of the pictures, play the songs to pass time. Now it's been a full day, and then go back in and then give them a new picture, and like just keep doing that over and over. I don't plan on doing that, but I did want to get all the heart pieces, and I have 19 hearts, and I only need one more heart piece, and I'm trying to find where it is. I spent the like last hour of my stream yesterday trying to find it, following like a list of all the pieces, and I couldn't find it. So
wow,
I'm gonna have to try to find it this weekend, and then hopefully we can finish off on Monday that, because it's really unsatisfying to have 19 and 3/4 hearts and only need one more piece.
So have you played Wind Waker before, like this remake one, not the?
Yeah, I played the remake through once.
Yeah.
But the original game I played like, I don't even know, 6 times or something like that.
Okay.
A lot.
Whoa. Let me ask you a question, Tim.
All right.
So, I'll compare like WoW and 76 because they're both sort of MMOs, or I guess they kind of both are literally MMOs.
Mm-hmm.
So Fallout 76, I've heard some player criticism just in comments and stuff like that, where they're saying that the gold bullion, which is an endgame currency, is rather grindy. And obviously if I'm correct, and I have to log in and do like 40 days of play, like not literally 40 24-hour stretches, but I have to log in and do 40 dailies-ish, or 40 daily runs. They think that that's rather grindy. And I was wondering whether, because you're talking in WoW about a bunch of stuff that kind of sounds like you're going back and it's a little bit grindy to get the transmogs and whatever you were saying.
Mm-hmm.
Do you think that WoW feels grindy, or is it...
Oh, for
it
sure.
doesn't feel, but does it feel cheap? Like I get the impression that the people that are complaining about 76 are complaining, saying, "Oh, it's grindy, I'll never get there." But yet, why are they rushing to the finish line? Whereas in WoW, does it not feel cheap because there's no microtransaction store? Like, how does that?
I think it's two different kinds of people. Like, there's going to be people in WoW that have the same opinion. Like, there's going to be people that think that about WoW, and they would probably think the same thing about 76. It's definitely a grind for sure, and that's kind of the reason I stopped playing WoW back in the day to begin with, is because it just felt like I was doing chores. Like, I would wake up, I would do 25 dailies, and then that was like the limit for what I could do that day, and then I would basically turn the game off, because like I didn't have any like raids I wanted to do. I wasn't in like a guild that had any particular goal and stuff. Like, I wouldn't go do PvP. Like, I was just doing my rep grinds to get like a mount or be able to use a piece of gear that would already be redundant for the raids I'd done anyway and stuff like that. And I was like, I don't know why I'm doing this anymore. Like, there's no social aspect to it, etc., etc. So, for me, it's going back and playing it now. It's more so for like the going back and enjoying the stories and stuff. Like, a lot of people play the games and they just like rush through everything. But I'm one of the weird, like, they want to rush to the end game to do like end game raids and get maxed out gear and stuff like that. And I was always like, if I'm halfway through an expansion, I'm not going to be trying to like min-max my character. I'll just wait till the next expansion. And then, because all of my like doing the same raid for 10 weeks in a row to try to get like a full set, increase your item level by like 2 at most, versus just waiting for the next expansion to come out, and then like the greens, the common items that you'll find will just vastly overpower any of the raid stuff that you did in the last expansion. Like, no, I'm not spending that time. I'll just wait, you know?
Do you think that that's due to the game being multiplayer? Because I can't even think of an actual example either, but if so let's say Oblivion, which is a totally single player experience, if it had something grindy in it where you just had to do, let's say the arena was much more grindy. Let's say the arena was not just 10 or 15 matches or whatever it is. Let's say it was something like 150 matches. Do you think that people would complain about that? Like, I couldn't even see myself complaining about it. Is it just because you're stacked up against other players maybe that people find it grindy?
Yeah, it's more competitive. I think people like want that competitive edge and stuff, and they want the bragging rights to show like, oh, look, I've got, an item level of 468 and you've only got 450, fucking scrub. Like, there's that aspect to it for sure. I'm definitely more about like the enjoying the stories and stuff, because there's more. I'm sure there's more than like 6,000 quests in WoW now.
Damn.
That's a lot of stories, and like they're all going to be different, sure. But I think it's just because like since I started playing like D&D and stuff like that, it's like I have much more appreciation, I think, for the environments that these games like display, and like all the little like things that could be happening within these worlds and environments. Like, like you can be going like I really like environmental storytelling in games. Like if you're playing Fallout, for example, and you find like one you guys might be familiar with, like when you go to that first town in Fallout 4 where you meet the Minutemen, you can go into one of those side buildings.
Concord, yeah.
And you go to Concord for the first time. You go into that one like side building. It's not the main building where you meet the Minutemen, but it's one of the other buildings that you can go into and like loot. And it's got like there's the one office that has a safe in it, and there's 2 skeletons, and one's like choking the other skeleton out on top of the safe. And it's like you just come across that. There's no note saying what happened. It's just 2 skeletons, one's choking the other one, and they're on top of the safe. It's like, oh, this dude, and there's like a gun off to the sides. It's like, okay, there was a struggle. They were trying to kill each other, and then the one guy, killed the other one. And that's just like there for you to find. I really like that sort of stuff, where it's just there and you can come across it. And like little just background information for like why things are the way they are in the world. Like if you're playing a video game and you come across this like fissure in the ground, it's like, okay, whatever. It's just the designers thought a fissure would be cool there, and so they did it. But then you go to like a nearby town and you find out that like a plane crashed, and it like was going at such a high speed that it carved this huge fissure in the ground. And then you go and look, you go back to that fissure and you're like, oh shit, there's actually like bits of plane scattered around. Like maybe I wouldn't even notice that if I hadn't like paid more attention. Just little things like that, where they give the world more substance, and it's like it feels like things are actually real instead of it just being like a video game environment. Like, oh, this is just a room in a dungeon in Skyrim that means nothing aside from being a dungeon for you to explore, kind of thing.
Yeah, I definitely get that vibe, because if you think about Diablo, like talking about dungeons, Diablo doesn't really have that necessarily.
No,
it certainly has
not.
Story and such, but it's all about, you get through the story, and then once you've done that, it's all about the multiplayer aspect. Let's get the best gear, let's farm the best stuff, where's the best place to farm, how do I min-max my data, and you literally show up and you're killing minotaurs or whatever, but realistically you could be playing a text adventure. It doesn't matter. You're literally sitting there hitting keys in a sequence to fire off your skills, then you run around, pick up all this stuff, and then you quit and you re-roll or whatever you do to start another game up, and then you just do it again and again and again, and you keep doing runs over and over again to get gear. And that's sort of what these games seem to become, whereas like Fallout 4, like you said, you find those 2 skeletons, or one time I found a foiled bank heist where there was like a bank. I like had to break into the vault normally with like skill, like I had to lockpick and do all this stuff, get in there, and then the back wall's all blown out, and there's stacks of cash everywhere, and there's like a duffel bags full of cash, and there's like a getaway car pulled up to the back, but clearly their plan had been foiled by the bombs had falling on the area.
And I mean, like, having a game be just like you said, effectively a like text adventure is totally fine if it's got enough personality to it, right? Like if it's a text adventure that's like a little bit cheeky or whatever, like that's still fun. I think it's still enjoyable. I think a lot of people lose sight of why they started playing an MMO in the first place. Is like they wanted to have fun and they wanted to like explore this world. But then once they reach the end game and they've been doing the end game for too long and it becomes stale, it's just a numbers game and it's like, I want to hit these buttons as fast as I can so that I can get higher numbers on my character sheet. Like that's kind of when it starts to lose the magic. And then people are like, oh, this game's too grindy. And it's like, well, that's not really the game's fault. It's just that you sort of lost sight of what you wanted the game to be in the first place.
Yeah, you could put any skin on that game as long as your character had the same numbers and was picking up things that had better numbers.
Yeah,
Once you hit
exactly.
that point, it's like it's donezo.
Adriano.
What did I? Some Overwatch, some
Sea of Thieves.
Yep. Some Super Mario. Is it Super Mario? Yoshi's Island, Super Mario World 2. Still playing that on a GBA Virtual Console on the Wii U. Did some. What the fuck else did I play?
Still going through Zelda, right?
Zelda, yes. But thank you. Breath of the Wild. I played more of that yesterday, and then there's something I'm forgetting.
You finally finished Final Fantasy 1, right?
No, I should plug that in right now because I got to fire up this fucking phone. Here, it's right here. I have it right here. I'm holding it right here. But I'll get that done. I will get that done. Yeah, just the Overwatch event came out, so I've been doing a lot of that. Marty, and I had a out of place Monday lunchtime.
Yeah, that was hilarious.
That was really fucking weird. So Matt, Tim, I come home because I come home from lunch now because I'm 2 minutes away from my work. So I usually come home for lunch, and I usually turn on the PlayStation, and I'll go onto YouTube and just put on something random while I eat. I turn on, and there's a high number of like friends that are listed online. I'm like, oh, that's kind of weird. And I go look, and it's Marty and Ryan are both on, and they're both playing Overwatch. I'm like, okay. I went over to the party. They're like playing. They're in a party together. So I'm like, all right. I guess I'm just going to stay home for the next hour and just play Overwatch. So it's like middle of the day or lunchtime Monday. All of us should be working, and then we're just playing Overwatch. This is really weird. And then Marty's cousin, what's his name? Joined?
Holden.
Holden joined, and
yeah, oh, that's right. I forgot there was a bunch of us on.
yeah, it was
What the heck's going on?
It was
noon
really
on a random
weird.
day.
Yeah, it was Monday, and then like I'm like I'm dead at work. Like I don't have anything really to do. Ryan's like, yeah, same with me. I'm waiting for stuff.
Yeah,
So
quarantine got me like.
we're just playing Overwatch now.
It's all right, man. How awesome was it to come home and fucking jump onto Xbox Live and you see like 20 people on your friends list all playing like fucking Halo or Black Ops 1.
I do miss those days, but something odd happened. I guess this was after college. Might have been during as well, but just
You were growing chest hair?
I've had that for a while.
You're growing chest hair? Like
I said something strange happened.
Is that straight? That's normal, isn't it? Unless it kept growing.
no,
mind.
none of us have chest hair, Ryan. What are you? What the
No,
hell
we're
are you
all
doing?
we're all nubile young men.
Yeah, what's going on here, Ryan?
Jamie, I've got I could scrub a pot with my stuff. I don't know what you guys.
Adriano over here.
Got an SOS pad on
Yeah.
there.
Oh, steel scrubbers.
Oh man.
Nice.
What was I gonna say now? Yeah, it doesn't matter. I don't care anymore.
Call of Duty, coming home, playing
Oh,
video
just
games.
my habits changed when I got out of college,
Yeah.
and it seems like everyone else did too. And it just kind of like now it's like we only play games at like 10.
I was gonna say like we are. It's so much easier now to play video games together than it's ever been, and we never do it anymore. It's like it's that notion that it's so easy that you're just like, oh, like I could do it anytime, but then therefore you don't prioritize it and you never make an intention of doing it.
Mm-hmm.
It's like with email and texting and whatever. It's like you could call anybody you've ever known at any time, but we don't do it because it's so easy, it's so trivial. It's just like, yeah, I can do it anytime.
Well, actually, a lot of us are kind of like there's at least someone always online, but it's usually like after 10. It's like throughout the day,
Mhm.
it's hard to find someone online.
Yeah, we get busier too. Yeah.
It's hard to gauge me because I'm always appear offline. Like I'm just
You
in
come
the
out of the
shadows.
shadows.
I come in the shadows constantly. But
Yeah.
my gaming time changed. Like there's three distinct like gaming habits in my life, and this was just pretty much before I started gaming with you guys, and then during college and a little bit after that, and now it's starting to change again. So yeah, like I'm playing more at night when I used to not do that. I used to just play like after school / work, and then by like 8 o'clock I'd be done, and that was it. But now I mainly play at night.
Although
Oh, go ahead.
one thing that changed for me, similar to that, is I never used to play at night, and one of the reasons was because of Letterman, and so I would wait. I would stay up and watch Letterman. But once he got off the air, and Colbert, I watched Colbert too. But a lot of his episode, or most of his show, was put up onto YouTube the day after, and so I just started watching it the day after, and then allocated that time towards gaming.
Yeah.
So now I game with people at night.
I was going to ask if it's something to possibly do with. Well, I mean, for me, this is what it is. I just prefer to game when no one else is awake. When people start going to sleep and they're not. When there's just less, yeah. Like sometimes, well, they're not necessarily bothering me, but sometimes it's like a client asking a question, and then even though I'm not going to do it right then, it's like I still have like work on the brain at that point, and so when I get to that time of night, it's like it's acceptable for me to not answer someone. Like no one's going to be like, "What the hell, man?" You know, it was only 3 p.m. Like, where the hell were you? It's not going to be like that.
There's two fantastic times in any given day, and one is late at night. And the second is when you're in the washroom. Because no one...
I agree with you on both those.
There's like no responsibility that like someone's going to come running up and say, you got to do this thing, and then see you're in the washroom and then go, oh, and then they'll back away.
Yeah.
And it's just you just feel like you have no... what's the word I'm looking for?
Complete freedom.
Obligation to the world.
No
Obligation to the world. That's it. That's exactly it.
Yeah. Honestly, like at night, you can just do whatever, because even if you see something come up, for the most part, you can just ignore it and be like, I'll just get to it tomorrow at some point.
No one really expects you to, like hop on it right away.
Mm-hmm. My absolute favorite time of the day is the time where I lay down in bed and before I fall asleep. that is literally my favorite time of every day of my life. Just where I get to just lay there and just shut the world out, and I get to like just turn my brain off. I look forward to that every goddamn day.
You know what's weird about that is I can't sleep unless I'm doing something while I'm falling asleep. So I have to have a YouTube video playing or something.
Fuck that. I could fall asleep right now if I really wanted to. I could just lay back, tune you people out, and just take a nap.
That's been a recent development for me too, Matt. Is like I used to be able to like put everything away and just kind of like fall asleep on my own, but it's like now I feel like I have to fall asleep from exhaustion.
Oh,
and
yeah,
it's probably not healthy.
I don't know how healthy it is, but I always feel guilty just laying there. Actually, I'm like, man, I could be doing something. I could be getting someone off the list. So if I turn on a YouTube video and I fall asleep, it doesn't matter to me. But at least I was watching the part of that video, and then I can go back and it was like, well, I finished 10 minutes of it.
Yeah, that's right. As for myself, I bought myself a headset stand.
Epic.
I highly recommend it. It is very nice.
How much was this headset stand?
I think it was like $40-$50.
Okay, that's not. I for some reason I thought you were going to say like $250.
No, there was a
Holy
RGB
hell.
one that I did not buy.
Headphone stand.
Yeah, and
Those are for the fucking streamers that need a background.
It's kind of cool though because like the base lights up and the Corsair logo lights up, and you can plug in like a USB to like charge your phone or whatever.
Of course,
off
it's
it as
Corsair.
well.
Corsair's going nuts with that stuff now because they
or
own
even to charge
Elgato.
your headset. Yeah, but this I'm very impressed by this stand. It's all metal, and I was kind of expecting like a plastic thing because you could easily make this plastic, but it's all metal and it's super nice.
Man, they have friggin' like RGB mouse pads.
Yes.
Oh yeah,
no one's
yeah,
gonna
100%.
see that fucking except for you. Although I suppose it's the same thing for like a keyboard, but
There's been a shift because I remember years ago I wanted to put one of those LED strips on the back of my desk, and a couple people, this was when we were in college, and a couple people from college were like, no, that's dumb, like that's a waste of money. And those exact people now have like RGB all over the place, all over the desk,
it's
everywhere.
cool now.
Yeah.
Some of my favorite setups that I see on like Twitter and stuff, because obviously being a streamer, I associate with other streamers who associate with other streamers, and then there's fucking just like my Twitter feed is just all of that, right? I see people. My favorite ones that I see are the ones that they don't have any RGB. Like it's just like a white desk, and they've got like maybe some cool lighting going on in the room, but everything is just like either all black electronics or all white electronics. And they have like a white desk with like dark hardwood floors and like white walls and some plants and stuff. Like that's my favorite stuff to see.
It's almost like modern office design there.
Yeah, exactly.
You know what I find funny is like
it's dope.
Humans have definitely gone through design phases throughout history, right?
Mm-hmm.
And you could even say that the latest was like the 90s that had a particularly definable look to it. But we've been on this minimalist thing for, I feel like, quite a long time. And I'm just wondering, is there no getting out of that? Do we shift out of that, or what?
You think so, but go look at like 2010, and you'd say you would be able to see the difference in style.
But I remember back at that time we were still striving for a minimalist look. I'm not necessarily saying we achieved it back then, but I feel like there's been this constant march forward to making things more simplistic.
Do you know what I think it is? And I don't know whether we'll ever escape it, but I think it is that we have more minimalist objects, but we have more objects. We have, like before, it was just a lamp and a switch, for example, to light a room up. Now it's the lamp plus the smart switch plus the smart speaker that controls that lamp. And so each of those items are minimalistic, but each of them, like, it adds up. There's 3 items there now, 4 items, depending on your setup.
Avoiding the clutter is definitely like a major component of appearing minimalist, yeah.
Yeah, and I think that kind of ties into with people's more complex lives nowadays. And I wonder if having just a simple setup, kind of helps declutter the brain.
That's what I'm striving for in my new place. I'm trying to keep as little stuff in this unit as possible.
I do wonder how people manage to have such like clean setups on their like work computer desks and stuff. Like I got cables literally fucking everywhere. Literally everywhere. And I have, and this is way better than what I had before. My old setup was a disaster. Like people who set up like corporate servers like in businesses would probably have an aneurysm if they saw my desk setup. And now it's like, it's much better than it was. But I've got, a Wii U, a Switch, my PC, a PS4, 2 monitors, a bunch of, I got my capture card, I've got keyboard, mouse, speakers, camera, a lot of shit, right? There's cables for everything.
I'll tell you what helps with that is a headset stand.
Damn it.
You know what fucking helps with that? And I bought a pack of them coming into this place. A pack of 100 Velcro cable straps.
I have, everything is cable tied.
Everything in
exploding.
the unit has a cable tie around it.
Yeah.
And I like, even going
you gotta do it.
my TV unit, I've just cable tied everything together. And then even I got to my computer and that was fine for the most part. But I just put a mixer and a microphone and a mic stand on my desk. And now it's just, everything's cluttered again. Like it doesn't feel good anymore.
Can't escape it.
Yeah.
Cable ties or tweezers, as The Verge called them.
Tweezers?
Cable ties or tweezers?
Why do they call
are you talking about that build a PC video?
They had that horrible PC build guide that they did, and whoever they got to do it really didn't know what he was doing, and I'm surprised they let him. That blew up a couple years ago. But anyway, let's hop into the stories for this week. So as we all know, E3 has kind of been canceled, and not kind of, it is canceled, and
Dunzo.
Well, they said it's coming back next year.
Nah.
But in the interim, we got all these game announcements all over the goddamn place. I don't know what's going on. But we do have a list of kind of who's doing what and when. Most notably, we have the PS5 Future of Gaming on June 4th. Then on June 6th, we have Guerrilla Collective Live. I'm not sure what that is, actually. Guerrilla Collective Live.
Okay. Well, Guerrilla would be... Are you talking about like who is Guerrilla?
Yeah, that's not Guerrilla Games, right?
That would be Guerrilla... I don't know.
I don't know what that is. Anyway.
Like I'm just hearing it from you. I'm not actually reading it. So I was gonna say, isn't that just like Guerrilla Games? Like
the PC gaming show, Matt, your favorite one, on June 6th.
Okay. You know
Steam?
what? That one gets the most improved reward.
Oh yeah,
Award?
a couple years ago, it was awful.
It was the first year was
Slow.
It was slow. The second year was slow but okay, and then it's gotten way better.
So we also have Steam's Summer Game Festival. Now I haven't heard much about that. I wonder what that is going to be. If that's actually going to be game announcements or maybe just like sales at Steam.
Is it a multi-day range?
June 9th through June 14th.
Yeah, so it's probably just like a week of just random shit.
Now EA Plays kind of makes more sense because they've been doing their own thing on their own. There's the one this year is on June 11th. And then this doesn't even include we have both the Summer Games Festival from Jeff Keighley, which is like kind of spread out intermittently from now until like August, I believe. We have the IGN, whatever they're doing, which is also spread out amongst many weeks. And then Ubisoft on July 12th, which is much later than their normal E3 presentation. And that's on my birthday, so that's kind of exciting.
There you go.
Wow. How do you guys feel about this kind of shotgun blast of presentations? And I'm finding it hard to track and keep an eye on.
The beginning was the Jeff Keighley Summer Games or whatever it was.
Yeah.
And then after that, it just all fell apart. There's so many things going on. Like this week when you had that Last of Us
State of
Play, there was a tweet, and I think it had just come in late or something, that there was an Inside Xbox, and I was like, "Where's the Inside Xbox?" And you guys were like, "I don't know, like maybe Adrian will add it to the calendar." And I was like, "Oh, okay." And then when it the next day, I was like, "Was there an Inside Xbox?" And everyone's like, "No." And I was like, "What the hell's going on here?"
That's just you making up a memory. That's what that is.
No, like I definitely saw the thing because people were talking about this badge, like one of those like sticker badges you put on your computer. There was like one that looked like that in the picture for the promo of it, and so I don't know what happened.
It's the Berenstein Bears thing.
Are you talking about like when they revealed?
Oh, the Mandela effect.
Are you talking about when they revealed the like Assassin's Creed Valhalla?
No, I distinctly remember it saying that it was that, you know how people always tease them about the like exclusive world premiere. People were teasing them about, and I think they were kind of talking about it themselves. They were talking about enhanced for Xbox Series X or something like that. And they said, "Get ready."
The Valhalla one.
That was the Valhalla one?
Yeah.
What the hell's going on? Why did that show up in my feed the other day?
Did you watch
Here's
it?
something you may have missed from 2 weeks ago.
That was on Twitter. Like, what the hell kind of crap is that?
We think you may have, blacked out for 2 weeks. So here's the backlog.
Oh my god!
I mean,
here's 18 conferences, four
are
festivals.
Are they far off?
Or what far off?
Are they far off? Thinking that Matt blacked out for 2 weeks?
No.
Thank you.
I know this is definitely a different time, but I'm just hoping that kind of if E3 does come back, that we kind of get to a more condensed. Because I like having all this news in like a weekend. It's kind of fun.
Oh yeah, I just take that weekend off and just like junk food it and just sit on the couch. That's it.
So, but I do think Jeff Keighley's, depending on how successful it is, I can see him wanting to do his Summer Games Festival again. So I guess we'll see. All right, moving on. So none of you watched The Last of Us Part 2 State of Play.
I never finished played the DLC to the first one. So I didn't want to look at it.
So because you didn't finish the DLC, you didn't watch the State of Play for the second one?
Yeah.
Well, there could be spoilers, but
yeah,
I mean, it's public information now, so I'm not sure.
Matt, there are spoilers to everything anywhere. I wanted to look up news today on the Minnesota stuff, and I may have gotten a spoiler to the Chris Evans Apple TV series show in a headline because they don't know how to fucking filter anything anymore.
What an unrelated thing.
Exactly.
Like,
that's exactly my point. I went looking for something else, and I got a potential spoiler for a show that I wanted to watch later. Completely unrelated. Like that's how bullshit people are with spoiler etiquette.
That is correct.
Tim,
yeah.
You never played The Last of Us, have you?
I haven't. You know who's played and beaten The Last of Us?
Who's that?
Kayla.
Oh, really? Wow.
It's her favorite game.
It's
She's
my
playing
favorite
beating
game.
it.
It is fantastic.
Oh, you two should hang out.
Is she excited for the second one?
She is. I don't think
Did she
like,
watch the State of Play?
Yeah, actually, hang on. Let me go get her. She can jump on the podcast for me. No, we rarely play games together.
Mm-hmm.
But when we do, like we recently actually started playing The Last of Us again because I have it. I downloaded it digitally like 2 years ago with the intention of playing through it with her because she knows it and I don't know it. Like I know everything that happens in it because I've like seen friends playing it and talking about it and stuff like that. Like I know how it goes for them. Like I know the main story beats, but it is still cool to like do it yourself, obviously. And like, so we started playing it again like a couple of months ago. Actually, probably not even, maybe a month. And we were playing through it, and we only got to what part did we get to? We got to the part with the guy living by himself, and he's got all the town all booby trapped.
Okay, that's still pretty early, actually.
Yeah, it's still pretty early in the game. It's like maybe 3 hours into it or something like that. Not super far, but Bill.
The exchange between him and Ellie is so well done.
It's like really well done.
The snarky back and forth
they're just
between those. Yeah,
it's constant. It's fucking constant.
I like when they're leaving and he Bill says, "Stay on my ass," and then Ellie says, "Couldn't miss it."
Yeah,
it's so good.
It's very good.
Well, The Last of Us Part 2 looked fantastic. They're kind of advancing on some of the stealth mechanics. They have new enemy types. I think both of the infected and humans. And they showed a couple new infected, and they also said there is more that they're not going to show off until you play the game. And apparently it's like their deadliest infected thing. But have these. Oh, go ahead.
I was just gonna say I'm still really interested in like watching the Nintendo fan here.
Yeah.
Watching the video and stuff and like seeing shit.
Mm-hmm.
It's a matter of me getting around to it. Like I'm not super concerned about spoilers,
right?
Myself, so
they added a new stealthy stalker apparently, and these guys will actually like hide and wait for you to attack, for them to attack you. And so those sound a little bit more difficult and stuff. But the game looked good. I was more impressed with The Last of Us State of Play than I was for the Ghost of Tsushima State of Play, which actually kind of diminished my excitement for that game.
That game, to me, seems like it's going to be a lot more of a like cinematic experience than...
You're talking Tsushima?
Yeah, and than an engaging video game experience. I might be totally wrong, but just from what I've seen of it, it seems like there's much more of a focus on like...
Yeah. I'm still excited for it. I'm still going to get it day one, but just watching that State of Play, they really just kind of made it look like every other open world game to me, apart from using the wind to get to your destination, which I think might become annoying, but I mean, again, I'm waiting to
it's
play
one of those features where when they show it off, it's like, whoa, that's super cool and like neat and innovative, and then once you've played the game for 10 hours, you're like, okay, whatever, follow the wind. Yeah,
there's probably a toggle in the settings actually.
The wind thing to me though was one of the things that I really liked in Mafia 3 actually, and I'm not a huge fan of Mafia 3.
Street signs.
Was the street signs. I really dislike having to constantly look at my minimap, and Assassin's Creed Origins really solidified that because it doesn't have a minimap at all. It doesn't at all, does it?
Well, they actually said that in before the game came out that they got rid of the minimap because they did testing to see how often people's eyes go to that
Went
minimap.
there, they did eye tracking, yeah.
And they were watching the map more than they were watching the game. And so you make all these amazing environments, and people aren't even looking at it.
Oh, GTA, like, that's why I don't know where I'm going, because I'm never looking at the road. I'm constantly just looking at the minimap to figure out where to turn, because it's a pain in the ass to figure out where to turn.
So I'm fully Team Compass now, because it's just so much better.
You're going to mention the getaway, aren't you?
Yes, the getaway.
Yep.
I love that. The turn signals. It automatically turns on to tell you which way to go.
I was going to say, what game was it where... I think it was actually... The one that's popping up in my mind is Just Cause 2, where you're driving along the road and you set a marker, and then as you're driving along the road, they'll have like almost like holographic arrows pop up at intersections telling you which direction to turn. I'm sure it was in like a Need for Speed game as well, but like...
Yeah, I think Need for Speed had that too.
They like pop up over the road. They're like hovering over the road, and then there's just like little, very not like glaring color wise and like holy fuck, like that's so bright. Like it was pretty subtle, but also large arrows just gently going, turn left here, turn right here. That was really cool because then you don't have to worry about like watching your fucking map and being like, okay, so when is it the second or third turn here that I turn left? Like you just watch the road and enjoy the environments.
You remember the older games that had like an arrow literally on top of your like car or whatever?
Oh yeah, like Crazy
Pointing where to
Taxi.
go, yeah.
Yeah.
All right, well, Last of Us 2, I think, looks good. I'm excited. Coming out in like 3 weeks, I think. Or less than that? Or no,
Is it
no.
that
not 3
fucking
weeks.
Is it
soon already?
really? Holy
19th,
yeah.
the June 19th.
What
Yeah,
the
Oh,
hell?
It's been
Fuck.
delayed and delayed and delayed,
Actually,
though, isn't it?
I think it was supposed to be out today,
Yeah, it's supposed to be out in May
originally,
sometime.
before it got delayed.
Oh, wow. Ghost
We've
of
all been
Tsushima is
playing
really
it.
close, too, isn't it?
That's after Last of Us, I believe. So, like, July, maybe?
I'm pretty ready for Ghost of Tsushima.
I gotta freaking finish The Last of Us before that game comes out.
No, hang on a minute, Ryan. You said you were excited for Fallout 76 seasons. Now you got to also do your Fallout 76 seasons.
No, I got a plan in place. It's all good. I'll be done.
You got a plan in place. Good
Yeah.
lord.
Borderlands 3, Ryan, come on.
We do that on the weekend. See, everything's falling into place.
What
It's
about Sea of
perfect.
Thieves, Ryan?
Yeah.
Why didn't you re-download Sea of Thieves?
And Civ 6, huh?
And Civ 6? What's going on here, Ryan?
Sea of Thieves is boring.
Oh, Sea of Thieves is not boring.
Yeah, so June 19th for Last of Us, July 17th for Ghost of Tsushima.
There you go.
Oh, yeah.
It's about a month.
I got a month. I got about a month.
you got a
But
month.
you're also replaying Fallout 4 to do the trophies.
That's an ongoing process, though.
You know what is
That doesn't
so?
help. Like,
So you know how like I hardly ever fucking platinum games ever. Like I never like I'll play games and then there'll be like a handful of trophies. I'm like I'm not gonna bother. Like it's gonna take too fucking long. I just don't really care about having the platinum
Mm-hmm.
on my trophy list. You know, it's a game that I never thought I would platinum, and I'm like 89% through it already.
What's that?
Is For the King,
I don't know that one.
which I don't know
Oh,
if
that-
you'd be familiar with it, but the game that you and I played, Matt.
yeah,
But,
hell
like,
yeah.
It's like tabletop style game, or it's inspired game, I should say. You have a party of 3, and you basically it's one of those games where you're not really expected to beat it. Like it is tough. And the game even has like a disclaimer when you boot it up. It's like, don't go into the game assuming you're going to survive because it's pretty tough, and failure is part of the adventure. Like it's sort of roguelike in that you can, like, as you progress through like story beats of the game, you unlock a currency. It's just called like lore, and then when you go back to the main menu, you can spend that lore to unlock other like modules that can appear in your world like randomly. So like random loot that you can find, or random NPCs you can come across, or random like not quite towns but like locations that you can come across. And it's like super old school RPG based. There's like characters that are tankier, there's characters that specialize in like range, there's characters that are magic based, ones that are support based, and it's just like really cool. And there's lots of different like dungeon diving modes and super replayability. It's like a really, really awesome game, and I've been playing it with 2 friends that I used to work with, because it's like it's one of the very rare 3-player multiplayer games, like 1 to 3 players, and it's just good. And we're like, it's got a very small player base on the PS4, such that we actually got a trophy today that only like I think something like 4.5% of players had. And when we got like the pop-up for the trophy, I like hit the PlayStation button to go check the trophy, and when I loaded into the page it was like 4.5%, and then after the 3 of us had gotten it, it updated to 4.7%.
Holy crap.
So there's so few people that play that game on PS4 that the 3 of us account for 0.2% of the population of,
Wow.
of players, which is really funny.
All right, our next story here. The what's this guy? Oh, the head developer of Platinum Games. Excuse me if I get the name wrong, but Asushi Inaba. So, if you're unfamiliar with Platinum Games, they made Bayonetta and Nier Automata.
The good thing about Japanese names is they're pretty phonetic. You kind of just read them as is, and you're usually okay with it.
All right, that's probably pretty close then. This comes to us from GameSpot. In 2019, Asushi Inaba said that he was not all that impressed by next generation of consoles from Sony and Microsoft. He said they offered more of the same, And those comments led to some debate and discussion, particularly after the enthusiastic praise we've heard from several other developers up to this point. However, he's not backing down. He clarified his comments, however, telling the Video Game Chronicle that his original words led to a bit of a backlash and the perception that he was a snob. He now says he's excited by the fact that a new console will allow developers to do more as it relates to graphics and technology. However, he stands by his estimation that the leap from the PS4 Xbox One era to the PS5 Xbox Series X era won't be as dramatic as the shift that occurred years ago during previous console transitions. And then he kind of talked about, if you think back to the generation between Super Nintendo and PlayStation and how we went from pixel art to 3D polygons, nobody could have ever imagined that a few years prior. When that stuff started coming out, people were just blown away. They weren't ready for it. They weren't anticipating it. It was just so new.
I think it's just the technological development for like the visual stylings of video games these days. It's like it's more the major shifts are more subtle because we're not adding a whole new dimension to gaming, right? Like what we're adding now, like I would say the biggest difference between like current gen and next gen is lighting, like rendering, and it's quality of rendering. It's not like a major new feature. It's just that the quality is much higher and it's more realistic, and it's subtle things that make something look realistic. It's not some major game-changing thing.
And I'm really impressed by mocap, which is a relatively newer technology being used. Watching that Last of Us state of play, like it showed Ellie walking into this room, and it just looks so human-like. Just every movement, and they even have the physics down now, where the clothing reacts like you would expect clothing to react in that scenario, like
with people and with environments and
so I think we're achieving this state where games are really starting to incorporate real world physics and design and stuff like that.
I think people that aren't just really quick, people that aren't familiar with like video game engines and stuff like that, like they'll look at it and they'll go, wow, that's pretty, but they won't really appreciate it the same way that like we appreciate it, where we've seen this stuff like over and over and over and over and over, and we've seen janky animation so much that we're like, yeah, that we know that doesn't look realistic. Right. We're so well versed in janky animation. It's more, I think, impressive to us than it is to like other people, the developments that have been made, because we can look at new stuff and we can be like, wow, like look at how not janky that looks. Like we're expecting one thing and it's completely different, whereas other people who don't really play video games as much, like I'll bet you like Kayla really thought that The Last of Us was like a really good looking game, and to its credit, at the time it was really good looking. Like the animation was groundbreaking at the time, but going back now it's like, okay, yeah, like we've seen much better. I'm sure she would look at it still and go like, well, this is like a movie. Like it just looks like I'm watching a movie. And then I bet if she watched that back to back with like Last of Us 2, she would probably go like, oh, holy shit, like that is actually significant. Right. But she wouldn't know that unless she saw it back to back.
That Last of Us 2 state of play, was it running on a PS4 or PS5? What they showed?
PS4 Pro.
PS4 Pro.
Yeah, they said everything was captured on PS4 Pro.
And is it coming to the PS5?
More than likely. Like I'd actually like bet money on it.
Nothing official?
No. And it'll be forwards compatible, so even if it's not upgraded, it'll still be on PS5 in some capacity, I think.
So the answer is basically yes.
Yeah. I mean, I will say though that the jump from from pixel art to 3D polygons, I mean, yeah, I don't think we're ever going to see something that massive that's that noticeable. Those days are probably over.
Yeah, definitely.
I was actually going to say that one of the biggest jumps I've seen recently is actually so I'm a big Far Cry fan. Far Cry 3.
Don't say.
Well, Far Cry 3 to 4 in its natural progression to then 5 for me was pretty much just the game just kept getting better. That's just kind of how I felt. But then when I bought the DLC for 5 recently because it was on sale, I bought the season pass, and it came with Far Cry 3 Classic, and I was like, man, I'm gonna go back and freaking play that game. I did not realize that game is freaking old. And one of the things I'm noticing actually is the reason why we have these big worlds, or at least in my opinion, the reason why I have these big worlds in this current gen, is because they're able to actually, probably for the first time, populate the worlds. That game feels so unbelievably empty There's no one really running around. There's like the odd person on the side of the road that needs help. But there's just more or less enemies in bases. And even the enemies in bases, what's crazy about it to me is I show up to a base and, you like get your binoculars or your camera out and you scan everybody so they're on your radar. There's like hardly anyone in there. And I'm so used to stealth games now where I'm like, man, there could be like 3 people in the bunker, 2 guys in the shack beside there, guys guarding the road. Now it's like, I guess it was limited at the time for rendering or something. And so me actually taking a base stealthily is like a joke in that game. So they're actually able to populate not only the people and have more characters on screen, which we've seen in general, but the actual worlds feel so much more alive. There's actually people running around. There's people doing things like normally, if you will. They're like going to the store, or they're doing this, they're doing that. Stuff that probably is what made the Elder Scrolls from Oblivion onward so loved, is because those games, even though they were older and on those older consoles, they loaded in those separate little cells. And so they were able to really jam those cells full of assets. Whereas these other games like Far Cry, when you go into a city, you don't load into the city. You just drive into the city or you drive into the town. And so there's nothing there. There's like
Right.
1 or 2 people walking around. It is night and day. If you go back to Far Cry 3, I would have never assumed it was the way it is right now.
Mm-hmm.
It's crazy.
Also, just looking at games from the start of the PS4, Xbox One generation, and looking at the games now, they look amazingly different. Even though I thought they looked incredible back then, because I just reinstalled Assassin's Creed Unity, which was kind of relatively near the beginning of the PS4's life cycle. It looks awful.
Sorry, which game was that?
Assassin's Creed Unity.
Oh yeah, no, that game is blurry or something.
And like compared to like modern games like God of War or even Last of Us Part 2 now, it's just amazing the difference. So I'm always excited to see what the next generation of consoles will look like at the end of their life cycles, when these developers have really had some time to get the most out of these consoles.
Well, one thing I was going to ask actually is we had just had a discussion about minimalist design. I'm wondering whether this generation is really starting to step toward that. What I mean by that is these are probably going to be the cleanest interfaces we've seen, the fastest loading. So like that bulk, if you will, is gone. There's no sitting there at loading screens. It's going to load the games the fastest. It's going to boot them up. There's that Xbox feature that multiple games can sit in standby and stuff like that. There's going to be probably better rest modes, those type of things. There's probably going to be faster downloads. There's going to be all this crazy stuff. This is really, realistically, our console experience right now is a pain in the ass. It's like I log in, even though my PlayStation was in rest mode, bam, it didn't download some update randomly. Now I got to sit there and wait. And it's not just my internet speed that's holding me back. I got to sit there and copy. So that is sort of, in terms of the digital world, that's very anti-minimalistic because I'm dealing with all this bulk and all this crap. Mm-hmm. And it doesn't multitask well and stuff like that. Whereas this is starting to streamline the experience where when you click this button to do X thing, it's going to do it right now. Not going to wait. It's not going to screw around. We're going to be able to easily multitask, jump into parties, jump into games, switch this, switch that, go over here, go over there. No hesitation.
Didn't we cover a story a while back about the PS5, like being able to, it might have been the Xbox Series X as well, about just jumping into different parts of a game, like instantly?
That was shown, I know. It could have been PS5 as well, but that was shown in Austin Evans' video for the Xbox Series X.
Right. I forget what exactly that was, but I remember them saying a while ago how like console games, they still take a long time to boot up and crap, but everyone got used to mobile games where it's just like instant access and you're in, But console games, you still have to have the menu and then the start screen that like hangs for like 10 seconds.
Well, wasn't it? I think it was the PS5 that like there was a suggestion that a lot of the menu and the game setup would actually be dealt with right in the PlayStation interface.
Something to that effect, yeah. That's
it's
right.
it's like right, like think of it as if we were on the PS4 and if you head down and it takes you to like a game screen. There's a bunch of options there, but you would actually deal with a lot of the dials and the behind the scenes stuff there. And then as soon as from there you say, hey, I want to do single player, it just goes right into it.
That's right. Yeah.
It doesn't kick to a loading screen and then take you into a game menu and then then do that.
Yeah.
That's huge because there's so much like 76 doesn't have the greatest UX, but 76, for example, it's a whole process. It's, we all of us boot up, we try to get into the main menu to make sure we're not all going to end up in a queue or something, or a world that's full. We all get into there, and then my camp can't be placed, or someone else's camp can't be placed. So then one of us rolls out. Like, the only thing I can do is say stay on this world or choose another one. When I choose another one, I leave the team, so then I'm gone. Then you guys are like trying to follow me. Like, it's a big problem. I understand that that's more or less 76's problem, but realistically speaking, during all this rigmarole where I'm loading and this and that and the other thing, someone could be very quickly jumping into some casual game they're playing, quickly do like a quarter of a level, and be like, oh, you guys ready? Oh, okay. Click a button, back into 76 right where they're at. Like, that's huge.
Yeah.
I love listening to how much you guys complain about 76. I love not being in that game, but being in the party when you guys just complain about it.
You know what the thing that sucks is with Bethesda, just real brief aside, a lot of the features are cool and all that stuff, like the new story stuff is good. They don't have a UX guy. They clearly don't. Like, why is it that I can only place my camp, or if it can't place my camp, why is it that I can only leave and find another world or stay on this world? Why isn't it just like go back to main menu? And why doesn't it check that before us four when we're in the main menu? When we're all in a party, it should try to place all of our camps. Like, why isn't that a thing? It's just bad UX that whenever there's an actual bug, of which there are bugs, but whenever there's an actual bug, it just accentuates it. Now I'm getting a glitch hitting me, and I'm pissed off because the experience isn't there.
All right, moving on. So we got some new news from the PlayStation boss, Jim Ryan. He's the PlayStation CEO, and he's saying that the PlayStation is not interested in making PS4 versions of PS5 games. This comes to us from GameSpot. PlayStation CEO Jim Ryan stated that developers working on next-generation games should make the most of the new console's advanced features. And he was talking to Game Industry. He said, "We believe that when you go to all the trouble of creating a next-gen console, that it should include features and benefits that the previous generation does not include. And that, in our view, people should make games that can make the most of those features. We do believe in generations, and whether it's the DualSense controller, whether it's the 3D audio, whether it's the multiple ways that the SSD can be used," he said. "We are thinking that it is time to give the PlayStation community something new, something different, that can only really be enjoyed on the PS5. Now, I guess this is somewhat different to what Xbox is doing, where you can still play Xbox Series X games on an Xbox One.
It's the first party titles.
Yeah, and that is a guarantee, they said.
I think it's for the first year or some sort of time frame. I don't know if someone wants to fact check that, but
I recall that too. But yeah, I'm not 100% certain.
I believe it's the first year. Any of the first party titles will be available on both Xbox One and Xbox Series X, and that's just sort of more of an attestment to the fact that the Xbox Series X is basically just an upgraded version of the Xbox One. Just like how a computer, you like would upgrade the components or get a new computer, you're not going to get all new software and stuff. That's sort of like a little attestment to that, which is huge because now you can have sort of your quote-unquote Steam library, but just on a console if you wanted. And you don't need to be like, was that on PS3? Like, what the hell? Where the hell was that?
Mm-hmm. One thing I recall, though, in the Series X announcement, like when they showed off the actual box, was that, you know how they have their own internal SSD?
Yeah.
And they said if you want to play Series X games, you need to be on that internal or that like plug-in one.
Yep.
You can't run it off of an old hard drive.
Right.
Is that not the same kind of deal that Sony's saying? It sounds like Sony's made that new SSD so integral to the console itself, more so than maybe Xbox has. I don't know.
Cricket.
Well,
I was trying to think of a thought, and I'm also fact checking our Series X thing.
Yeah, I mean, I can't really think of anything to add to that. I think that's what it is. I can't confirm or deny that statement.
With the PlayStation, like, it makes sense that they don't want it to go backwards, because then you're just hindering the potential development of that title by saying your PS5 games, we want you to push forward and be innovative and do this with this new hardware, but we got to be just restrictive enough on what you want to do that it can run on older hardware. And it's like, okay, well now, like there's a reason why Xbox 360 games and PS3 games never came to the Wii, because it was severely underpowered.
Right.
You always developed it for those two, and you didn't worry about the little guy. So I get PS5's motivation with this, or PlayStation's motivation with this, but I also understand Xbox's motivation with kind of making it as a games as a service.
You know what's interesting though is this is the same. This is very similar to, or it's not quite there because there is backwards compatibility, but it's very similar to what they said when the PS4 came out, where they were just like, we think of backwards compatibility as thinking backwards. Meanwhile, they were sort of the pioneers in the early days of the PS3 with the PS1 and the PS2 backwards compatibility.
Oh, that's great when you could just put anything in any system and it just fucking worked.
I think definitely Xbox forced PlayStation to have backwards compatibility this generation.
Yeah. And I'm okay with it not being backwards compatible. If they say this isn't going to work on this one, I totally get that. The part that I just don't like is having to rebuy that game on the new system if I've already owned it there. Like that. Yeah. If they say, what the fuck is a PlayStation game? Horizon Zero Dawn 2.
Mm-hmm.
Horizon 1 Dawn, if that's what you would call it. They said it's not going to be backwards compatible, but if they say down the line, it is backwards compatible, we will bring it here. It's like I should not have to buy it again there. If you are going to make it backwards compatible, give it to me for free. Unify my library.
Well, they are doing like Cyberpunk 2077. They're having that like forwards upgrade thing for free. So even if you bought it on Series or Xbox One, you can just upgrade to the Series X version for free. That's kind of like a forwards compatible, I guess, deal. But does this mean now that Sony isn't going to make certain games right away for PS4? Like, are they done once the PS5 comes out?
Maybe their first party stuff is, but I'm sure there's still going to be third party stuff. Like EA is still going to make sports games for the PS4. Ubisoft's going to make all their dance games for PS4 or whatever.
Oh yeah, because they want this in many places as possible. Yeah.
Man, I still can't believe that's coming out for the Wii. Holy fuck!
I mean, FIFA came out for the PS2 for the longest time.
Like 2014, it was still out on PS4, I think.
Did I say PS2s were still selling? Did I see an article somewhere saying that?
Yeah, they're still
like sold like 150 million units now or something.
150 million units.
They're very popular, like in Southern America, Southern American. Holy fuck!
Like in Brazil, I've heard it is a big one. And what?
I was gonna say markets. That's what they were looking for.
Okay.
It's because like the exchange is so bad for them that they can't, like, even a PS2 is still incredibly expensive there. And the PS2 is a Netflix box in Brazil. There's Netflix that runs on a disc, like the actual OS runs on a disc, and then it connects to the internet. So like that's a Netflix option for those people.
I thought that was I'd seen someone do that, and I always thought that was a hack. I didn't know that was something official.
No, yeah, there's an actual like version of Netflix that runs on a disc for. There was Netflix on the Wii for the longest time had to run on a disc, and then they finally put it in as a download in the store.
Oh my god!
Yeah,
you can't even have Netflix on your Switch.
There's no Netflix on the Switch?
No.
Oh, that's fucking horseshit. That's bull. That's
and they got YouTube like late in its life.
You can get Netflix on the Wii and not the console.
You can get Netflix on the 3DS.
Oh yeah, that's true.
I don't know if it's still available, but it certainly was.
It was.
YouTube on my PlayStation 4 broke today. I went in and it didn't sign me in.
Oh, it's broken. Yep.
Yeah, and then it's like, okay, I try to sign in, it says error like CE-47 bubble. I'm like, okay, great. This is.
I noticed because I got an ad and I was like, did they just give me an ad when I'm a premium member?
Oh.
And then I was like, here we go. Like, and I was about to cancel my subscription because if that's the case, then that's it. And then
you know what's going to happen, Matt. At some point,
that's fine. Then I'll just cancel it.
What they're going to do is they're going to force everyone over to premium. Say you have to buy YouTube now. There's no free option, and they're going to make people do that.
I disagree with that.
And then they are going to put ads back in.
I disagree with that completely.
Promise you that they're going to do that.
I completely disagree with that because all of Google's services, with the exception of upgrading them for the most part, are free.
That's because you're the product.
I'm the product?
Jim Ryan also mentioned that the price of the PS5 would also not be affected by COVID-19.
Oh, that's good.
It did. He's just saying that because they never revealed it. So
I guess so. That's a good point. All right, let's move on here.
Wait, I do have a fact check here.
Okay.
Reading the byline of this article from Screen Rant, it says Microsoft says not all Xbox Series X games will be playable on Xbox One, despite all of its own games being cross-generation for at least a year.
Okay. Our next story, Cliff Blazinski reflects on the closure of his studio, Boss Key. This comes to us from GameSpot. So if you don't know who he is, he's the original creator of the Gears of War games. He got out of that and started his own studio called Boss Key. And he started making a game called Lawbreakers. That didn't do so hot. And then his studio shut down and he left the gaming industry.
Well, he made that Battle Royale as well.
As a last ditch effort to try to get some money into his studio. But that ended up failing as well because the titan that is Fortnite. Although Anthem's taken some. Anthem's doing all right, I think.
Anthem?
But,
Anthem?
Excuse me. What's
Anthem?
What's the other EA game? What's their?
Apex Legends.
Apex. That's it.
Apex is definitely doing fine.
Yeah. So anyway, Cliff Blazinski appeared on the Animal Talking Show, which is hosted by the Star Wars writer Gary Whitta, and he talked about the closure of his studio and how it had affected him personally. He says, "I was deeply, deeply depressed for about a year. My doctor put me on Lexapro for a little bit. That messed me up, so I got off that. It was one of the hardest things to happen to me my entire life. It was almost harder than losing my father when I was 15 years old." He recalled having high hopes for Boss Key and their debut title Lawbreakers, but it did not all go to plan. And he says, "I was cocky, I was brash, and I was just assuming that if I faked it until I made it, even though I had already made it, that the game would be a hit. I'll never forget watching the concurrent users start to plummet. We were trying to be a AAA on a AA budget."
Yeah, that was a bit of a mess, eh?
Yeah, I remember seeing that game early on and just kind of, there's some games you just know aren't going to catch on. Like there was just nothing interesting about that game.
You're just saying that because we saw it at the PC Gaming Show.
Is that where we first saw it?
Yeah, or at least that's when I saw it.
On that damn couch.
But it was very forgettable, and I think that was the problem. And you had Overwatch coming out, which kind of
destroyed it,
killed everything around it at that time.
Overwatch is so good.
But yeah, it's got to be brutal to kind of put all your passion behind one game, and then it just watching the concurrent users start to plummet. He said,
"Yeah, that's sad." You know how many hours I put into Overwatch total?
0.
Probably like 4.
4 hours?
Probably something like that.
I'm in the high 300s.
It's pretty good. What's crazy is like I can spend so much time playing the game, like so much time. Like I can think like when I was 15, 16, 17, all I was playing was WoW. Like that was it.
Yeah.
And it felt like literally like if I thought back to it, I would be like, oh, I must have 2,000 hours in it or something. Like something completely ridiculous. Like it was every day for like 3 years kind of thing. Mm-hmm. And then I go back on my like one character and the total played time on that one character is like maybe 700. So I was like, this is a game that I played like nonstop for like 3 years basically, and it felt like I didn't do anything else. And then I see these other people playing games that are like Monster Hunter, for example, and there's people that have like save files with like 2,500 hours on them, and I'm like, literally,
oh man,
how is that possible? Like they must do Monster Hunter 16 hours a day. Like since it came out to have playtimes that high, like it's in like how do you not get bored?
In Overwatch, your rank when you get up to 100, they give you a star, and then you can accumulate 5 stars, and then when you go to get a 6th one, they take away those stars and they turn your bronze portrait into a silver one.
Silver portrait, yeah.
Yeah, and then you do this 5 stars, reset it to gold, and then you keep going.
Yep.
And then you go into a platinum. And
Yep.
we have there are people now showing up as just regular gold players, and there are occasional players you see as platinum players. And when you just math out how many hundreds or thousands of levels that is,
Yeah.
it's holy fuck! I want to know this person who is
how can you play Overwatch that much
24 hours a day
and is not doing it professionally?
Yeah,
that's the thing. It's if you're doing it, if you're a streamer and you're playing that game professionally, 1,000,000% I can understand how you get that many hours. I've never played so many hours of fucking Wind Waker as on stream, and it didn't even take me 2 weeks. It didn't even take me 2 weeks, and I'm already done this game, right?
Mm-hmm.
So for a competitive game, it's totally understandable. But if you're not doing it competitively, and the game's only been out for 3 years or 4 years or whatever, how do you subsist? How do you live? And this is not fucking nerd neckbeard mom's basement. I'm genuinely curious how somebody can actually play a game that much and A, not get bored of it, and B, manage to pay your own bills. It's the math doesn't add up.
There's something weird about people, right? Where I always wonder where they get their money. There's some people that are I'm broke or something, and then you'll go and look and you'll see that they have the latest games all the time, and they have hundreds of hours on there, and you're where the hell? What's going on here?
So something doesn't jive here.
If something doesn't jive here, if I was as broke as you're saying, and they could just be exaggerating, I'd be a little more concerned and be I gotta make a little bit of money here.
Yeah, I gotta make sure I survive till tomorrow.
Yeah, there's a guy that I used to know that would come into our store all the time, and he's a big collector of anything like Star Wars and Green Lantern. He really likes comic books and Star Wars. And he worked a part-time job at a store in the mall and would come in anytime there was some big collectible, high quality, recreation. Those $200 lightsabers you can get, right, Ryan?
Yeah.
When the Darth Maul ones came out, where you could buy 2 of them. You could put 2 of the red lightsabers together and make Darth Maul's lightsaber. $200 a pop. As soon as they came out, he came in and he bought them. And this is also the guy that buys food in the food court every single day. He buys nothing but collectibles and stuff like that. It's dude's dropping easily $1,000 a week on collectibles and stuff like that. And if he can't get something, often he will commission somebody to make something for him. So that's in itself a huge expense.
Wow.
And we're just sitting there dude must sell drugs on the side or something, because he's working maybe 16 hours a week at this store in the mall. Not even full time, not even management, part-time position and part-time hours, half part-time hours. And spending $1,000 a week on collectibles, there's no way.
Does he buy, sell, trade the stuff? Because where would you have all the space for $1,000 a week? That's crazy.
Yeah,
Well, the lightsabers you can hang on the wall, so.
But I mean, $1,000 a week. It's okay, that there's $400 of his $600 week.
Man,
weird, right?
I remember Adriano sent me a deal for one of those lightsabers. I have.
I was going to bring that up.
I have Kylo Ren's, and I got it for $60 or $80 or something like that. It was fantastic.
I have a friend of mine in another from high school. He'll in a group chat. He's on red flag deals constantly, and he'll just post deals. And depending on what that deal is, I'll filter it forward to other people in my life. And as soon as he sent me the lightsaber deal, I'm all right, Ryan's gonna get this. And I just sent it to Ryan.
All right, our final story here. Oh, do you have something else?
No, I'm good.
This is kind of a transition into a query corner question, I think, as well. But there's a new Xbox app that lets parents monitor and limit playtime for children. Comes to us from GameSpot. The new Xbox Family Settings app lets you set screen time limits on a daily and weekly basis, while it also allows you to provide, for example, more time on weekends and less during the week. The app gives parents the ability to set content filters. For example, you can choose to block mature-rated games for younger children or other variations based on age and content level.
That's interesting.
The Xbox Family Settings app also allows parents to limit in-game communication with other people. You can toggle the setting to only allow children to chat with friends or not at all. Another feature is in the app is activity reports, which are exactly what they sound like. These are gaming and usage reports sent daily or weekly to parents.
So pretty much everything there except for like the game rating thing restriction, everything there is just the family settings on the Switch too. Like Nintendo did this 3 years ago already. So that's not that big a surprise. It's not like oh wow, features. It's just like, Nintendo did it. And I think even the Wii U probably had similar features as well. Like Nintendo put out those little like, here's a little rundown video on how the family settings work on the system. I gotta say, it's interesting that Xbox would do it. I figured they kind of don't give a shit.
They actually have a bigger one. They have another app. I don't know what status it's in, but they showed it off at the Microsoft 365 sort of demo video or whatever it was a few weeks ago. And they have one where it tracks your family through whatever they're using. So you can be like, oh, if you have 2 kids, you could be like, kid 1 is using Xbox, and then he's using his laptop for 3 hours a day, and he's using this app, and he's doing this, and he's doing that. And like kid 2 is doing this, and this, and this, and like...
Keeps going to something called lemonparty.org. I don't know what that's about.
That's an old troll if I ever frickin' heard one. Holy crap. That's ridiculous. I disagree with this stuff. The mature rating and stuff like that, I get that. That's fine. I had when I first got the 360, I think I was 12. So for 1 year, I had I could only chat with friends, which was reasonable. Like, who the hell else am I talking to? So I'm fine with that too. But as these kids get older, like everything that we do, like I'm always on the screen, and I'm a proponent of like, as long as the kid does his schoolwork, of which is online these days, I'm not one to say to the kid, like, okay, you only get 1 hour of this. And the reason why I say that is, number one, there's a whole bunch of logistics around playing online these days. If someone's slightly late, or if someone's doing something and they're later, like if someone had to wait for an update to finish and stuff like that, sometimes you can be waiting an hour, and then that eats an hour of their screen time. And the second one for me is like, that's sort of a reward for if they've completed their homework and stuff. If they've completed their obligation, like we all do this, we complete our obligation, we go to work, whether we go to work or work from home, doesn't matter. We do our obligation, and then we log out of that, literally or figuratively, we leave, and then we go and use what we want. If we want to go run down the road, then like you exercise, you can go for a run. Or if you want to go on your PlayStation, no one's stopping you. So I'm not a parent, but I to me, this is getting too much. And I'm certainly not an early childhood educator either. So maybe I'm treating it poorly science-wise.
I think it depends on the kid for sure. Like, there might be kids who are capable of doing that. Like, do my obligations first, and then I get this reward. And some parents are more lax than other parents. But, like, I know for damn sure, if I had the option of playing video games or doing homework, I was always playing video games. Like in high school, I did maybe half of the homework that I was assigned and shit like that.
Mm-hmm. Oh,
and if of my own will, and like if it wasn't for my mom like cracking down hardcore and being like, no, like you gotta do this, then it wouldn't have gotten done. And like, I'm glad that she did because it taught me that you can't just do whatever you want.
Like Matt, I too am not a early childhood educator, but I
that's an important disclosure because, like, I'm saying it doesn't matter, but maybe it literally does for certain ages.
None of us have kids, so we don't really know how to feel about.
As far as I know,
Adriano got a couple on the side there, I think.
Yeah, one in each province.
I heard it was something that happened to you in Spain as well. So.
That's a lot. Yeah, like he's got a few there, one in each province. Like, damn.
Does that
include the territories? Or what the hell's going on here?
Is 13 kids not a whole lot to you? Oh,
But I kind of feel like this kind of takes the parenting out of parenting. Like when you get like all this, like more so with that other Xbox or Microsoft app where you're literally controlling everything the kid does. And they were trying to make it more about having a conversation. I remember them saying something like you can track like where your kid goes everywhere they go. but
even on their phone.
You can't. But apparently, it's not like you can't force it. You have to like talk to the kid or something like that.
There's something. I mean, we only saw a demo of it, but it was something like along the lines of their example was the kid is like playing games on his phone, and the kid's getting older, so he's like maybe 10 or 11 at this point, and then the kid downloads Modern Combat or whatever, so it's a more violent game, and so then that gets sort of flagged, or the parent notices it in some capacity in the app, and he notices like, hey, the kid is no longer playing this Mario game, which is quote unquote safe. He's playing this Modern Combat game, and so their look at it was the parent and the kid will have a conversation as to how long is appropriate for them to like play that game per day, and if you're uncomfortable with the amount of screen time that they're using, Modern Combat or whatever it was, if you're uncomfortable doing that, then you have to. Or that like then you'll like set a limit together kind of thing. Like you'll be like, oh, let's limit it to 45 minutes a day and stuff like that.
I think it's just an extension of that same thing though. Like, there's lots of parents that say, you've got an hour and that's it. But how many kids actually were like, okay, right on the hour, and then they get off? Like, it's not until mom comes back in the room and it's like, okay, I said an hour, turn it off. And then they stand there and wait until the kid turns it off, right? Like, that's just what my mom would do. Because I wasn't, watching the clock for exactly an hour. I was like, oh, let's see how much I can get done in an hour, and then try to push that, right? Mm-hmm. It's like, if I can finish this up around an hour, then sure, that's fine. But, like, I'm going to keep trying to go. And then she'd come in and I'd be like, oh, I just need, like, 2 more minutes to finish this thing. And
I just wonder
how she was feeling. It was like, okay, or no, I said, turn it off. So this is just, like, a hard reinforcement of that rule, basically. I think it's just a tool to help them. It's like, it's not leaving it up to the machine to parent the kid.
I just wonder if there is value, though, in the parent themselves kind of establishing that authority.
That's what I'm saying. It's a continuation of the parents establishing that authority.
But when it's just a timer that says you can no longer play this game, I feel like you kind of lose that interaction. I'm not sure if there is value or not to that. I'm just kind of speaking off the top of my head here.
Well, I had a couple incidents where you'd hang out with people. As a kid, like a young kid in elementary school, and like I there were definitely some parents that just didn't they didn't care. Sort of like I would always sort of how my schedule was is I would go hang out with people or whatever till around 6, and then like I would have dinner, everyone would like leave, and then I would do my homework and then go to bed kind of thing, for the most part. So I would have 2-3 hours, but I wasn't like on like necessarily a hard limit. It was just sort of like, oh, it's dinner time, something else is happening, and then I would just go and do my homework after that. Whereas like I've definitely been to a couple of like friends' houses where the parents are like, even if we're waiting for something, which was always the weird thing, which is why maybe I'm against limits like this, where we'd be waiting for something like, oh, someone else is going to show up. And I remember one particular incident where we were waiting for someone else to show up, and the PlayStation was just on, but we weren't even using it. And it was just like the person was half hour late or something like that, shows up, we got half an hour, the guy's like, all right, turn it off, comes in, unplugs it. And it's like, all right, now what do we do? All right, well, I guess we're all going home, and then we all left. Mm. And so it's like you're also because these devices are more than it's like you wouldn't get punished for playing with Hot Wheels. You know what I mean? You don't want to be like you have a 1 hour Hot Wheel limit,
right?
You know what I mean? You're treating this toy differently, and maybe that's why I'm against it.
Sorry, go ahead.
No, go ahead.
Sorry, I thought you were finished, but I was just gonna say that like. My sister is like numero uno of that. No, you can't be on that video game all night. You have to get off it. Get off that, and then she'll make her kids get off. But we'll let them watch TV for the next 6 hours after that. Right, and it's like, Elena, if you're going to let them look at a screen, I'm like, at least let them play video games, because at least they're figuring out 3D spatial awareness. They're using the logic part of their brain, and they're helping with hand-eye coordination. Like. Video games and TV, video games is at least beneficial in some way. TV, like they literally are just zoning out and turning off their brain.
Yeah, there's a reason why people fall asleep more commonly watching TV.
Yeah.
Just straight up.
Yeah, you're not
playing a video game.
Mm-hmm.
Also, the usage reports, to me, there's actually corporate applications. I recently watched a video where companies were stealthily installing software or even disclosing it sometimes, whatever, right? Different laws in different places, where they were installing software, and you have to have your microphone and your webcam on at all times, even if it's your personal computer because you're working from home.
Mhm.
And they would have like keywords where you would say something, and you might be like, if you said the word job, it would flag a supervisor, and then it's like, this person might be looking for a job, you better stop them. Or like, maybe not, they wouldn't, obviously the software wouldn't say that, it would just be like, flag, this person said job. And then some of these softwares have a thing where they can come onto your screen, like full screen, webcam on, and be like, hey, where are you? Like, there's no ringing, there's no like, hey, I need to call you. It's literally just like you come back to your computer and your supervisor's looking at you, and you can see them. And like, I get those vibes where it's like, what are you doing? Like, at that point, literally just install like a tracker chip into me.
That's a job that I would never, like, as soon as that happens, I'd be like, I'm done with this. Go
I'm leaving. I'm going to find another job.
Yeah.
The scary thing is some of these softwares, not all of them, but some of these softwares were stealthily installed. And so they were just like, oh, we're just going to deploy this. Now we know what you're doing. I saw one guy install it. Again, this is all on a video. I saw one guy install it, and he like was looking at, you can flag certain things. So it's like, well, they had Facebook open, but they never like looked at the tab. Like, the tab was off. So we'll give that like a yellow. But then we'll give, OneDrive a green because they constantly need to download media files. But we'll give like, messages, like Android messages. We'll give messages, we'll give that a red. And if we detect that they're on there, then a supervisor can be like notified automatically.
Oh man, I'd be fucked if that was ever on mine, like on my work computer, or if I was using that on my home computer, because I constantly have either like on a second screen just playing something in the background. I either have like YouTube or Plex or Spotify or something is constantly operating, and I would get dinged so goddamn fast.
We had an incident at school in college where a co-op student was fired for watching YouTube or some sort of video during lunch. It was lunch hour and he got fired.
Oh, that's insane.
And it was treated like severely. It was like they called the school and they told the co-op advisor, they're like, come pick up your student.
Fuck, like I've been on episodes of like Westworld while I was doing work I was doing stuff at work.
My work seems pretty relaxed about that kind of stuff.
Yeah,
they've even sent out emails like sometimes our fiber internet will go down and we'll have to like switch over to whatever, like, I don't know, DSL or whatever we have to switch to. And they'll even like say in the email, like, please don't watch as many videos as you normally do and stuff like that. So they clearly know everyone's
you're
doing it.
Yeah. Because like even there's even something simple as like you should be listening to a soundtrack when you're doing mundane, especially if you're doing like data entry or just computer work. Putting on like a movie soundtrack or a video game soundtrack helps you get into a rhythm. Like those are specifically designed for you to keep your focus in a very specific way without being distracting. So like that should be almost encouraged in a workplace, to put on something to help you to kind of help set your pace and keep your motivation.
It's also helpful for anxiety. Sometimes if you just get off a stressful or like a stressful meeting in whatever capacity, maybe a deadline got moved up or something, I've found that I'll be like a little bit anxious and then I'll have trouble starting whatever I need to do, but I'll throw on a podcast that distracts me because I'm paying attention to the podcast, and I could just get right into the work and just quickly bang it out, and then that's it.
Yeah. For me, like I said, I put on a soundtrack at work because especially when I have a pile of stuff I need to enter, it's like, fuck, it kills me. I just literally put on like Interstellar soundtrack or like a video game soundtrack like Dead Cells, and I just start just typing away, and then before I know it, I'm just through that whole pile.
All right, that's all we got.
Cool.
Thanks for watching or listening, I guess. Tim streams.
Yes, sir.
That figures on the Twitch.
That's right. Yeah, that figures.
We stream. Day One Patch Media on the Twitch. Adriano.
Hi.
Streams. Video game soundtracks while he works.
Streams audio, yep.
Yeah.
And you can find us on most, pretty much all streaming podcast sites.
Go check your podcast app.
Check it.
Well, it's also uploaded on YouTube and Facebook.
We will be announcing our big Spotify deal.
Oh,
the second biggest podcast to come to Spotify exclusively since Joe Rogan. So
world premiere.
We're going to be exclusively coming to Kazaa and Morpheus,
Yeah.
the number one pirated podcast.
Day One Patch podcast and Joe Rogan together combined have millions of listeners.
Yes, that is factually true. That is factually true.
Call it pirate radio.
Do you think it's going to be weird when, life returns and we try to go back to doing like a standard in-person studio recording? Do you think we'll be able to do that, or do you think we're just going to continue doing it this way?
I like the in-person one. Plus, me and Matt, I missed the pizza and movie. So
yeah, I haven't watched. I haven't watched a new movie. I've watched a new movie this whole quarantine.
I have watched Jackass and Jackass number 2. Oh, the second one is so fucking good. It has my 2 favorite in that movie. I think the first one you guys are probably gonna know is the bungee jump one, where Preston is it's the weight to Wee Man's bungee jump.
yeah. So, and I like how Wee Man describes it, where he's like, I was totally fine, and then when I looked up, he was falling, and then I just got rocked right down to the water.
Snapped back down. like in concept, it's just such a genius idea. Like it's so good. And then my other favorite one comes from the movie as well is it's called the Switcheroo, where they dress up Preston as
Bam's dad.
As Phil.
And they put him in the bed.
Fucking gaslight his mom.
Oh, that's so good.
All the ones with Bam's parents are so good. Like Phil is the greatest reaction. Just shows up going crazy with this shit, Bam.
All right,
man.
See you guys next time.
See you next time.